Here we go. Let's do this.
We've got one life, one shot. Who do you want to be? What do you want to do? Addicted to Betterment, a podcast to inspire us to keep going, to try something new, to dream, to think big, bigger, to overcome. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
Welcome back to Addicted to Betterment. Today's episode, it's going to be a little different, and I am excited to share this episode with you. So buckle up with me. Today's episode is going to be a journey, and we're going to celebrate a journey. So the title of today's episode is 0 to a Million. And one of the things that's going to make this episode different is I am going to have my favorite podcast host, my best friend, and my gorgeous wife, Nikki, with me on the show today. That is not so much different, but I get to host this thing. So I get to be the host today. I'm looking forward to it. And today we're talking about 0 to a Million. And that is in reference to People Forward Network, my wife's company, and the platform that this show, Addicted to Betterment, lives on. So People Forward Network recently hit a million listeners. And by the time this episode is released, we'll probably be at 2 million, but it's going fast. And now that the snowball is rolling, Nikki, congratulations. But we're celebrating today, and we're talking about the journey of 0 to a million. Nikki, I'm excited to dive into this with you today. And guess what? You're always a podcast host on several podcasts, and you are great at asking questions and putting people on the spot. So today, I get to ask you questions, and I get to put you on the spot, and I'm excited to make you squirm a little bit to answer some of these. So, you ready for this?
I do want to comment really quick that, there's so much importance around taking time to celebrate and reflect when you hit a big goal. And so this is carved out time. I've actually done a few things, and this is one of them where it's like, I'm so excited to just reflect on the journey to 1 million, because when I went back after we hit that goal, and I've got it on my board over here that I got to cross off, that I've seen that every day for so long. And I crossed it off, and I went back and I looked at, when did we state that as a goal? And I think it was June of 2021. So that's how long we've been working on it, and I kind of forgot. I lost touch of the journey of how long it had been, and it ties right into the importance of enjoy the journey. It's not about just the destination as much as, like, results are my DNA. I love results, but man, I am learning to enjoy the journey. And if I look back from now to June of 21, there have been some really high highs. There have been some really low lows. And man, I just am excited about all of it and the next goals that we have. I just want to live in the day to day of enjoying the journey. If I talk too much about that, I'll start crying. So I'm going to turn it back to you, David. Let's go.
Oh, man, that's so great. So, the purpose of the episode today, it's multifaceted. So, yeah, I'm excited to celebrate this milestone with my favorite human and the founder of People Forward Network. I am excited to celebrate that, but the purpose for today's episode is to challenge you, my friend, the listener, challenge you to think about, what is it that you're wrestling with? What is it that you're trying to accomplish? What is it that goal that you want to go after, that change that you want to make, that challenge that you want to overcome? What is it that you're looking at that seems too big to tackle, that fear is holding you back? So, the purpose of this episode today is to inspire you on that journey. It's to inspire you to take action. And then, unfortunately, we got to talk about the reality of some of the things that happens when you do take action. And so, my hope that today's episode resonates with you and it speaks to you where you're at in your life right now. So, excited to do that today. And Nikki, it's okay if you get emotional and cry on this episode. That'll be okay. You know why? Because you deserve it. So let's get started. Let's dive in. How often do we hear on social media? We hear it on YouTube and in speeches everywhere. You see the short clips, you see the videos, and then they all say, chase your dreams. Don't let fear stop you. Don't let fear holding you back. I have to say, it's pretty cliche. I mean, every time I open on my social media feed, it's nonstop, and you hear these things all the time. But actually doing it, that's completely different. And Nikki, you did that. It was exciting to have a front row seat to that from me. So I want to go back to that for a minute as before you launched People Forward Network, the season that you were in, that you started developing these goals and these visions and dreams, and then the process of taking action on those. But first, walk me through what led you up to chasing after your dream and going after that goal.
I do wanna comment really quick on your cliche comment, about, like, "You can do anything." You can. You can do anything. I think where the cliche comes in is when it's just tossed out there and it's, regularly seen and shared, but things aren't approached or action taken. It's a whole different world when that inspiration is fuel because you're acting on those things. So I do believe I am a believer that you can do anything. I am a believer that you never get ahead of God. God is always in front. And when we're like, we're going to do this and it is not God's plan, that's a recipe for disaster. Done it myself multiple times. And so you can do anything. And there is a higher power guiding you, and when you have that alignment and clarity, let's go, right? So I want to take you back. I was talking to a dear friend of mine. I call her Mother Teresa, Nadine. She's one of my very best friends, and we were reflecting close to hitting this million. We talk every once in a while, and I just love our chats about, hey, okay, give me all the download of what's going on, update me, like, what's challenging, what's great. And we were doing that one morning, and I shared with her. She said, "How's work?" I said, "Oh my gosh, I'm living the dream. I am living the dream. I get to do what I love to do with great people, and we're about to hit a million on our network. Like, it's been this goal for so long." And she just stops and says, "I'm just so proud of you." And to have people in our lives that just have been there for the whole thing and they're just as proud of us as we are of us, maybe even more, is just incredible. And I just want to say before I take you back to the story I was telling Nadine, um, it is so important, especially when you go after big goals, that you have healthy people around you. Because I'll just give you an example. I have a friend of mine that took the entrepreneur journey in the past couple of years and has a spouse that constantly questions her and challenges her on what she's doing. That's the person she lives with. That's the person that she is closest to. And it knocks her down all the time. And her husband doesn't mean to do that. He's coming from a different place, but it's always taking her backwards. And we have to have healthy support around us. So whether it's Nadine that has always been that for me, or I just want to give a shout out to you, David. Like, I told PFN in the beginning, I said, our silent investor is my husband. I mean, I'm a risk taker, sometimes to a scary point. But truly the level of risk that was taken to start PFN, if I look back at what I did, the balls that I had, I couldn't have done that without David. And I've said he was like our silent investor so that we could do it. And there were times like I wasn't even paying myself. I was paying the people that we had, and I was leaning on David. But let me take you back. So I've talked many times about divorce and my journey with challenging relationships and then finding redemptive love with David. And one point that I always like to make is never stop. Never let the shame take over. Never stop pursuing. And we're here to talk about PFN, but all areas of your life, there are things you're going to fail at. And I felt like such a failure on my last divorce. And I remember this house that David and I are sitting in right now. He's in his office and I'm in mine. And I remember I was telling Nadine, I moved here when I was going through a divorce. I had a condo and I had another home. So I had three um overheads for living environments, right? But I was like, I knew this house was like, calling me. I was like, "That is the house." It's definitely not, like, an overdone house at all. Actually, when I moved here, I was like I look back at the pictures and I'm like, "What was I thinking?" But we have completely renovated this home. We love it so much, but at that time, it was not real beautiful, but it felt like home to me, and I was stretched so freaking thin financially. And downstairs, we have this massive downstairs. It's like, I don't know, 1,800 square feet. And at the time when I bought the house, it was just this old 1950s basement, spiders and grossness, you know? Well, I love Pilates, and I had a Pilates reformer. Um, Actually don't have that anymore. I kinda wanna get one again. But I used to have a Pilates reformer, and it was downstairs in one of the, well, now bedrooms since we've renovated, and it was in this really nasty room. The reformer's in the center, and I had this nice rug, and I had some, like I do everywhere, some sayings, some plaques of sayings of, like, "Keep going, you can do it," and all that, but it was really nasty. But I love being on that reformer, and I had just moved here, and I was in a place of complete financial stretch, just knowing that I had asked God, "Is this the right house?" And there was multiple, messages from God, "Yes, yes, go for the house," right? And so I knew that it was the right thing to do, but I was so stretched, and I was at a place with my business at the time that it didn't look good, It's like, and at the end of the day, I didn't have, like, any employment other than my own, it was just me feeding me, and I've kinda gone in and out of that. Sometimes I take on projects or I've taken on W-2 things on my journey, but I remember feeling like, "I don't even love what I'm doing. I'm meant for so much more," and I had this burning fire inside that was like, "Why am I settling? Like, what am I doing? Like, this is just not." And I am freaking scared. Like, I just remember, like, I don't know how this will all play out, but okay. And that pit in my stomach, I can remember the pit in my stomach. I can remember, and by the way, I do remember that this is like 9:30 in the morning. And so David knows me well enough to know that if I'm just like laying on the reformer at 9:30 in the morning on a work day, that's not me. And so there has always been this burning desire to do the thing that I was meant to do, the cause, my strengths, and bring people alongside of me to do that, but it took a long time to do that. So, this grand plan didn't all start coming together. Well, the grand plan did, but the works of it to turn a corner beyond the risks taken didn't happen until after I was 40 years old. But man, I've been at it as an entrepreneurial person since my early 20s, and, yeah, I mean, it's just looking back at the road, the broken road that got me here. um, it was really scary, and I took crazy risks, and I actually look back and I'm like, I think I was, like, a little cuckoo, on taking some of those, but here we are now, and yeah, I can walk you through, David, like, a number of things that we can talk about, but the backstory isn't beautiful, but, when you put the pieces together, it is kinda beautiful, so, turning it back to you.
So you're about to start People Forward Network. Walk me through your feelings of that time as you're about to take the risk to quit a job, to quit what I would call a cushy salary, doing things you're good at, a very flexible schedule. You own multiple business. You can work when you want to work, and so that checked a lot of boxes for you. And now you're looking at launching a new business, selling a couple of the things that you own, getting out of the consulting gigs you're committed to, and putting all of your energy into one thing that right now is zero. It's nothing. There's no business that you're joining, no team that you're joining. There's no thing right now. Right now, it's just an idea. It's just a dream, and you're literally scratching it out on pen and a napkin. So, walk me through the feelings. Were you afraid? Were you anxious? Did you have a lot of head trash? Did you have a lot of what ifs? What were the things that you were thinking about and feeling in this? I'll call it a wrestling match of comfort because you have a good salary, you have a job, and all these things that are checking a lot of box, but you want to do something different. But this, I can only imagine, had to be a lot of feelings and turmoil internally at that time. Walk me through that.
Yeah, I gotta fill in some gaps. So it was 2018 when I was laying on that reformer right after I bought this house before I met David. And that time period made it really clear to me in the pit of my stomach that I had to figure out a stable income source to tie to some other entrepreneurial things that I was doing. And so I think that is something to note for everyone, that sometimes it doesn't go as planned on the journey to be able to get to the launch day of what it is, right? So in a perfect world, I would not have taken a job. I took a W-2 job after that reformer conversation that I was just sharing. Within about a year, I took a W-2 job with a tech company that ties into my mission. So my mission is to impact meaningful work for all people. And that's what we do at PFN. But prior to PFN, it's like always been what I do, right? Working in employee engagement software or culture consulting or whatever. So I happened to reconnect with a longtime friend that doesn't live in my community anymore. And she happened to mention this software company that was specializing in the healthcare industry and recognizing people for their greatness. To really keep the healthcare industry stable, we have to have nurses, we have to have doctors, we have to have CNAs, we have to have all those, right? And I thought my mom had a background in healthcare and really, just had a lot of heart for that. And I thought, you know what, this could be cool. I've never worked in healthcare before. I'm open to the opportunity. From my friend Serena, who had mentioned, she thought I could come alongside what they were doing. So I ended up, fast forward, taking a job and building out a partner program for this software company. That's my jam. I mean, as long as it's mission based aligned, I love to help, especially tech companies, do massive things through partnerships, through relationships, and figure out how to scale that. So I joined that company right around the time that I met David. So that was about 4.5, 5 years ago. And the journey was good. I mean, it was meaningful. I made an impact, met some really great people. There are some very cool people in my life because of that. That's one of the things too. It's like you get these different steps in your journey, and the greatest asset that you can collect are the people that you get to meet. And so shout out to Bonnie Clipper. Our start wasn't awesome, but man, we became pals, and David knows that story. Bonnie, I can't wait to hang out with you sometime for real, because we've only had virtual experiences. But that is one of my most cherished relationships, and that journey was fun. We made some great impact. We stood up a podcast for that company, and, I actually just heard from my mom that IU Health, which is here in Indianapolis, just signed on with that company, in the past couple of months, which was one of our very first podcast guests, so it's cool to hear that. So, while I was there, I was enjoying the journey. There were definitely things that were aligned. I had a pit in my stomach. My pit in my stomach was, "Nikki, what are you doing? You are made for more. This isn't it." But what I did learn was we piloted this podcast opportunity, which is what we do at People Forward Network now. Like, our how is podcasting. We do a lot of things, but that's our core. So we stood up a podcast for this company. And then just to hear just recently that the largest healthcare entity in the state of Indiana, that was one of our very first guests, that journey did nurture. It took a long time, but they closed the deal. It's freaking awesome. That's what we do. And so I got to this point where my dear friend Rachel Downey, my genius friend at Share Your Genius, they're a podcast production company. She and I have known each other for a long time. We have stories there, funny and terrible and awful and great at the same time. Uh, she and I were chatting, and I was telling her what we were doing with this software company and how it just wasn't it for me. And we start brainstorming, and she's like, "Do you know about podcast networks?" And I was like, "Mm-mm." And she tells me about this idea. She's like, relationships are what you love, and like activating revenue and growing things and getting results. I think there's a play where we take Gut Plus Science, which has been my podcast for the past 7 years, take Gut Plus Science and create a community of shows that are all these different niche shows pouring into one mission. And I'm like, I love niches. I love that. I said, I love getting laser focused. I believe in ABM marketing or targeted, marketing and sales efforts. And so the vision started to become clear. Oh my gosh, we could create this like movement. We create this like movement that like truly impacts meaningful work. And I remember sitting out on the deck with David and brainstorming about this while I'm still at this W-2 job and not, I'd call it a 6 out of 10 fulfilled. And it just started to become clear. And like this back of the napkin, I'm like, it was like just this piece of paper. We're sitting out there having a drink and talking. And I was like, oh my gosh, David, there's this lady that I know, her name's Stephanie Hicks. Oh my gosh, she would be perfect. I should call her. I will call her. Great, noted. And how I am is like I write things down and I do it like immediately. So I think I might have texted her that night or maybe it was the next day. She responded immediately and she happened to say, I don't know if I knew this or not, but she's like, "You do know that I just left XYZ company. I'm not working right now." I was like, "What? Oh my gosh." So we like hop on a call and I tell her what's going on and she was like, "Sign me up." I was like, "For real?" She's like, "Yeah." I said, she goes, "How many hours do you think this will be? Because I'm trying to like just work part-time now." I was like, "I don't know, maybe like 10 or 15." And she's like, "Yes, all in," right? So she talks to her husband, like, we are getting rolling. That was February of 2021. We joke that 2 weeks later, she was full-time, and she's like, "Dude, I gotta keep it to 40 hours." And the journey continued, but the excitement and the clarity of the vision and the ever pursuing dream of, I want to help people experience a work life that makes them be better in every area, that's always been there. It's like, I don't just wanna be in healthcare. I don't just wanna be working with one type of person. I want to affect them all, and I wanna make big change. And now I get to live in this. I don't have that pit in my stomach anymore because the dream became a vivid vision and I could see it and I started sharing it. And then I recruited the first person and that person recruited the next person. That story is freaking cool. And, here we are today. And now David coming full circle. By the time this goes live, David has a seat in this. He's been part of it, peppered in and out. I'm like, "Babe, can you run the sales call? Hey, babe, can you look at this contract? Hey, babe, can you throw some money in?" But now it's becoming an official collaboration where David, so it was 2021 of June of 21 when it officially launched. And David was working with Stephanie doing all this side hustle stuff, helping us. And then he's, been along for the journey, but no particular role, really. And now we're walking into something where he's going to be a consultant and help us to grow our largest account. So that's super cool.
You know, you were in a season of not settling, believing you were meant for more. You developed an idea that became a dream became a vision, and you took action and went for it. Yay. Big clap, celebration, but that's not the end of the story. That's why we're here today because the journey itself was exciting. So you share the vision, you recruited people, all things are great. Man, it's like we're living out our journey and we're going for it. Okay, here we are. You pursued your dreams, you worked for it, and it's happily ever after, right? No, unfortunately, it doesn't end that way. So you get started, and shortly after you got started, your biggest account that you have landed, it provided your safety net to launch this business. So you're in your business and you get that one big account that's like, oh, okay, we can breathe. We did it. Now we're reaping the results of our goals and going after our dreams. And then your largest account gives you a call and says, "Hey, we have to pull out." And you find yourself in one of those moments that we've all been in. It's in the words of Mike Tyson when Mike Tyson says, "Every fighter enters a fight with a plan until he gets punched in the mouth." And now you, Nikki, and your team find yourself punched in the mouth. You find yourself on your back, on the mat, staring at the ceiling and wondering what's next. So, congratulations in going for it. It didn't go as planned. And friends, it rarely does. And now you find yourself with a massive obstacle and you find yourself like, oh crap, what's next? What now? And you're faced with a decision. Do I get off the mat? Do I raise the white flag and say, hey, we tried it, it didn't work out, and go back to something more safe, more cushy? Or do I overcome and keep pushing? Walk me through that. Obviously, you kept pushing because we're here celebrating a million listeners, but it wasn't that easy. Walk me through that struggle of what now?
Those times when a profound thing happens and you can remember exactly where you were, how it smelled, who was around, what you were thinking. So that whole pit in my stomach came back in January of 2022 when what David was saying was this big blow. I mean, talk about a big blow. Oh my gosh. So to take you back, February of 2021 is when I reached out to Stephanie. She came on board in February. We launched the company in June of 2021. I still had, just to note this because it'll tie together in a minute, I still owned a business while working that W-2 role. That business, from what I was telling you on the Pilates reformer, it just wasn't going well. My heart wasn't in it anymore. I've been in it for so long. I wanted to sell the business. I wasn't there. So I still had that business. I had people working there. And then I had this W-2 role. So, um, we launch in June of 2021. Actually, it's funny, I was on a bucket list trip with one of my best friends, Allison, on launch day, 8 hours difference in Greece. We were on this, like, epic, like, Athens, Santorini, amazing thing. And I still don't know, like, why we launched a business while I was there, but anyway, part of the story. So David and Stephanie are, like, hustling out. We had this amazing launch day. If you ever are launching, like, a product or a business and you want some tips on, like, how to launch in a loud way, let me tell you something. Me or Stephanie Hicks or David, can tell you how to make that super loud because we followed the same model of what we did on that day, but so I'm 8 hours difference, I think, ahead, right? And I mean, my phone is blowing up. I was in Athens that day and just, like, I was, like, skipping. I was skipping through town. Like, I was just I could not sleep. I was so excited. And we launch, and then, we didn't have any clients yet at that launch day. Within a month, David and I were in Florida, and we closed our very first deal with our friend Tim Spiker and the Be Worth Following podcast. I was our very first client. And I remember on that call in Florida, we said, "Tim, if you trust us, I promise this journey is gonna keep you locked into the audience that you wanna build. And buddy, hop on your pony alongside us because we are going to be a million listener network." And he's like, "Whoa, okay, okay." So we didn't know how long it was gonna take to get there. That's part of it too, is like you put this big goal out there and you chunk it down. And so that was in the summer of 21. Hey, we're going for a million. He signs as our first show. And what an incredible show that is, by the way. Go check it out. Be Worth Following is a fantastic podcast. Tim is a great guy. So thank you, Tip, for being the very first yes. So we're on our journey. We get that in there. We get a couple of other deals. It's not scalable or anything yet. We're just seeing what we can do. So Stephanie brings someone to the table to add to our team. She's like, "Hey, I have someone, used to work with her, whatever, right?" Great. We have this call. I think I just have to throw this out there. I remember I missed the first call. Like I'm not a person that misses meetings, but I always remember when I do. So then we reschedule and I have this call with Chelsea, and we just have this really deep conversation about what is it that you're trying to do with your life. And it was basically like, I work for such a crappy, like, leadership team and employer, and I just want to get out of here. I am just in love with the mission of what you're doing. I don't know how to do any of the stuff you're doing. Like, I don't do marketing, I don't do content, I don't do podcasts, I don't do any of that. She was coming from the financial world and being an administrative team member to a financial company. So really, like, the skill set area didn't really align with, like, what we were doing, but she was like, "Just give me a shot and I'll do whatever. Like, I'm in." And that's exactly what she has done. This is a part where I might start crying. Chelsea has stepped in to do anything it takes to match my anything it takes to pay her. So I was like, "Nikki, just figure out how to freaking pay this chick. And Chelsea, you just do whatever you can." And she stepped in and just done anything to just figure it out with us. So it's me, Stephanie, and Chelsea. I was not taking any salary at this time, but it was just because I wanted to build. I wanted to be able to have this team. I knew, and I had other income, right? And balancing, like, I had to fulfill my role with my W-2. I had to keep my business running, and then I've got this new thing. So all that, the balance, the law of climb, if you will. And we start to see an opportunity because my W-2 company, they were leveraging podcasting with my podcast, Gut Plus Science. We were piloting some things because I was driving results through podcasting to help them open new doors. And we were seeing some great success and we were getting great marketing traction. And so I pitched them in Q4 of 2021 for me to become a consultant and for them to do business with People Forward Network because they knew I had launched People Forward Network. They knew that we were accelerating the podcast stuff of what they were doing. And so I was like, you know what? Like, it's going to be a much less hit on their payroll. I'm going to be so focused on results. I will be a vendor. We'll still have a great relationship. I still get to work with Bonnie, like all the things. So they say yes in Q4. And I started to feel this like, that like, I'm not settling anymore. Here we go. Like I could feel this difference shifting. So I called Stephanie and Chelsea and I'm like, guys, we got a plan. We're gonna have more money to be able to like do the things and grow the team. Super excited. And it was because I was living very stressed to like pay them at the time. That was like the rock in the bucket, if you will, financially that helped us feel a lot better. So this deal signs, and then we're gonna go on holiday break and we come back from holiday break into 2022 and let's go. Like we've got multiple clients now. We have this one big client. Guys, let's just hustle. It's all in. And I made the decision at that point, and I've never changed that I will do one thing now, just one. So I ended up was in the process of selling my business, Rainmakers, and then focused on growing PFN. And this was going to be my singular focus because in the past, I've just been a grinder hustler, just whatever, right? And that has proved so fruitful to stay focused on the one thing. Keep my eye on that. So here's where the pit in the stomach comes in. January 17th. So we'd come back from break like around my birthday, the 6th, like the 8th or something like that. I'm sitting in my nail salon waiting to get my nails done. And I get a text from the decision maker on that contract that had just signed in Q4 that helped us to have the runway, the wiggle room, whatever, the peace of mind, all that. And I get this text that says, not even a phone call. I got a text that said, "Hey, we have got some financial stuff going on and we need to pull out of our contract. We need to just talk about what this looks like and then let's just stay friendly and go our separate ways." Dude, you just signed the contract January 1. Like, what the and it's like, some people would be like, "Well, you've got a legal contract. Are you gonna go fight that?" And I'm like, "You know what? No, it's just not who I am. If you wanna play dirty with that. Like, I don't want a partner. I don't want a client like that." So, man, it was a blow, but you know what? I hopped on a call with Stephanie and Chelsea, and I remember this call just as much as I remember getting that text that said, "We're out," and I get on this call with Chelsea and Stephanie because 'cause we'd had a couple of months of planning for this to be like, "January is gonna be amazing, 2022 is our year." So I said, "Hey, guys, I have some shit news." And they're like, "Okay." And I said, "Fill in the blank company pulled out. They're out." "What?" I'm like, "I know." I don't know. I think Chelsea might have started crying. I don't know. And I just remember, we all remember, I know Chelsea profoundly remembers this because she's at that point a single mom with 2 kids, had gone out on a limb, leaving a like corporate company that was crappy, right? Like, so she got away from that, but she took a risk to come here. And I clearly talked to her about that risk. I was like, "You do know." And I feel very responsible when I'm bringing somebody over and you got 2 kids, you're a single mom, you are doing great, and I am now responsible with you. We do this together. So we had those conversations, but then it was like, holy crap. This is really happening in January, and it's January 17th. I'm like, who does that? 2 weeks in. But they did. But we were like, you know what? Here's what I said. Guys, we will do it. We'll get through it. We got it. We're going to figure it out. We're gonna figure it out." And I think Chelsea's like, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" "I'm sure. I'm sure." And I I remember getting off that call, and I was so stressed. I was so stressed. I was like, "I am sure, but I am stressed out. And I don't know how we're gonna do it, but if anybody can do it, I can lead it. And I've got these 2 soldiers, servants that believe in this mission, and we're gonna do it." And we did. And we did. And now we're sitting at 11 people on our team. We hit 1,000,000. We work with great people. We don't have any crappy karma manifestors, bad karma manifestors in our network. We have great people and we've done great work. And it's only like kind of just the beginning, but you have to dream. You have to get clear on why you're here. Why are you here? You're here for a reason. And man, if you don't go after that, you will have that pit in your stomach for a long time. Forever. You will always have that pit in your stomach if you're not doing what you're meant to do. I know what that feels like. And I'm proud to say that whether it was marriage or whether it was business, I did not, no matter what people are going to think, because people for a long time have always said, "What's she doing now?" You know what? This is what I'm doing now. I used to question myself when people would say that. They'd be like, "Oh, I heard that you're doing something different." And it used to beat me up, and it doesn't anymore. I'm proud of myself. I know my why. I know that my how is to find a better way. I found that out through the Why Institute when I took an assessment, and it helped me put the shame to bed that, like, I know why I'm here. I have a God that's guiding me, and I stand behind him, and I will find a better way. And if I'm doing something different next month, not away from PFN, by the way, but if we're doing something different, cool. It's because I know it's a better way. Let's go. I mean, I do get team input, and I do have other people that tell me no sometimes, which is great now. But I just want to summarize so far what we've talked about is dream it, get a vivid vision for it. The best I know is Chad Peterman. I love learning from him on that vivid vision. See it. I write everything on my walls. I literally write everything on my walls and I look at it every day, every day. I have a journal that I reflect on and I look at all the things and I see it all the time and then I share it and I ask people for help and I help them. I love win-win and how do we collaborate and you know what? I want to pay it forward to you and I need your help in building strategic relationships and you know what? Those strategic relationships are why we stayed afloat and now thriving like a rocket ship now is because of the people of investing along the journey that when we needed help, we just reached out and asked for help. And we're like, man, we are on the struggle bus. Q1 of 2022 is like, there's not much time for sleep, right? Total burnout situation. But we overcame it. And thank God for my healthy support system of my best friends. I have amazing friends and I have an incredible husband that was there in all capacities. And now we celebrate. And we celebrate. And at the same time, I'm already drafting big goals. Like we already have like massive goals beyond the 1 million, but we are taking time to celebrate and do things like this to reflect and call out people like Chelsea that that she was in a risky situation and she stayed the course. And now she's our head of operations, by the way. It touches me. Oh, I wanted to make a mention really quick because our fourth team member was always on the side behind the scenes doing so much for PFN but worked for Rainmakers and was like, still is my rock, my yin to my yang, Ashley Young. So I was really excited about the opportunity to bring Ashley on at some point. And then when that happened with the company that pulled out, I was like, dang it, it's going to be a minute. But it didn't take too long. Within 6 months, Ashley was on our team, and Ashley Young is it's just like to watch her, her journey of where she has grown in this company. She's now our director of marketing. And I believe that she's at a place right now. She's like, I am the director of marketing. And I love seeing it. And I love what she creates. If you go look at People Forward Network and the beauty and the content and the just, I couldn't be more proud of what we put out. Ashley is the backbone for bringing all that to life. It's just incredible. So that was our foundational 4 plus David 5. Couldn't have done it without Share Your Genius and my friend my friend Rachel, who was our backbone. And then there was me, there was Stephanie, there was Chelsea, there was Ashley, and David as our quote unquote silent investor for emotional and financial and all the things. Well, I just want to say that we just crossed the line of 1 million and we just sent Stephanie Hicks off in a very proud thank you. She just retired from our team. She doesn't have another job lined up. She has a lot of family things and she has life calling her and God guiding her to take some time off. We do have a plan for her to come back though. And it does have something to do with Marshall Mathers, Eminem. Oh, I'm so excited. But anyway, that I told her, I was like, that'll be like a year and a half. Rest up, get all the things in place. But we did just send Stephanie Hicks off with such a loud celebration of her being the People Forward Network startup GOAT. Literally, if she did not say yes, we would never be where we are right now. I do like to say PFN would probably still be here because I know the tenacity that I have and I would have found someone. but there is no one like Stephanie Hicks. There is no one that could have stood this up with me like her. And we just sent her off in such a huge way, and so many people came alongside, and we are celebrating everything that she did for the 3.5 years that she put in, and every single person on our team thanks her because we wouldn't have these jobs at this level and the impact if it were not for Stephanie Hicks. So we just sent her off in a beautiful way right after our milestone of 1 million listens on the network, and it was just a beautiful thing, very bittersweet. And I have a picture of her on my desk with some like funny quote that we have so that I can still just relish in her all the time. But I love Stephanie Hicks.
Wow, awesome, Nikki. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's really great. Celebrate the wins. Go for it. And just know it's not going to go as planned. And when you ask yourself, what are you going to do now? When you do overcome, celebrate in all things. Give gratitude. Take a moment to look back and be grateful for the people, be grateful for the struggle, be grateful for the lessons, and know that success can only be achieved through failure. Failure, challenge, those are critical ingredients for success. Congratulations to you and your team. Congratulations, babe, for going after it. And then when you got knocked on the mat, for overcoming and pursuing. Massive, massive respect and congratulations to you. So proud of you for the work that you did and the work that you're doing and the impact that you're making. And thank you for never giving up. And I know that bigger things are to come. And thank you for inspiring me. Thank you for inspiring friends and family. And so many people look up to you with the spirit of gratitude. You inspire us to, when we get knocked on the mat and things don't go as planned, it's okay. Keep pushing. I hope this story inspires you, friends. I hope it challenged you and encouraged you to go after it. And whatever challenge you're facing right now, whatever setback you're in the middle of, know that that victory is on the other side. And when you get there, and if you're in the victory mode right now, stop. Give gratitude and celebrate. Go have a great week. Let's be addicted to betterment.
So, you just listened to this episode. Now, join us in being addicted to betterment. Please subscribe to the show, share with your friends, tag us, and please take a moment, leave a review. Yeah, we do want your stars, but we really want the feedback.